It's time. Good morning. Well, we're half here. Let's try that one more time. Good morning. Woo woo. Welcome to Tahoma Unitarian Universalist Congregation. My name is Chrissy Kim. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as one of the members of your board of trustees. Longtime members and new visitors alike, you are all welcome here. Whether you're joining us here on site or online via Zoom, we are glad you're here. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. Just as you are welcome here. If this is your first time with us, I bid you a special welcome. I'm so glad you found your way to our community. After the service, I will be in the back of the sanctuary, right like over in that area. If you have questions or want to chat about UUism or anything else, come see me. For those of you here in the sanctuary, we have a hearing assistance devices and large print hymnals available in the back of the sanctuary on this side, and our ushers would be happy to help you with those. For our service this morning, our online chat chaplain will guide those of us online, and those of us here will be using the screen behind me to project the words for our unison readings and lyrics for our hymns. And this also has stuff about the order of service, but we'll get to that later. So I'll just skip that part. There's so much happening here at Tahoma UU. I want to highlight just a few announcements. So the first is thank you for your continued support as we navigate staffing transitions. As you notice, we have no order of service printed this morning. It is in an email. So follow along online on the screen and here in the sanctuary on the screen behind me. We need RE helpers. It's amazing. Our RE program is growing. RE is religious exploration, so that's the children's programming downstairs. We've gotten to the point where we need to make sure that we have volunteers there every week to assist, and really assist means you are a second adult in the room. You don't have to do any of the reading. You don't have to do any of the prep. You're just there to support the kiddos and the person leading the class. So if you are interested, Stacy Kopcha is downstairs with the kids now, but she will be upstairs later and circulating a sign-up sheet for you to sign up for a week that you can assist. Our Trans Relocation Committee is thrilled to announce our first fundraiser Saturday, February 24th. We're hoping to raise enough money to pay for an Airbnb for a family who needs to relocate. We're hosting a drag queen story time at Pierce College. There will also be some singing and a small silent auction, and you can see posters around in the lobby area. Our annual auction is also returning, and we are in the planning stages now. I thought I saw Sheila walk in, David, who else? So see those folks to volunteer. The next Pathways to Membership class will be held on Saturday, March 16th from 8:45 to approximately 12:30. If you became a member in the fall but missed the class, feel free to join us. Attendees will get information about our denomination, the governance of our church, expectations of membership, activities and programs, and have an opportunity to connect with other newcomers. A continental breakfast will be served. If you're interested, please contact admin@tahomauu.com to register. So even if you're brand new, coming to a Pathways to Membership class doesn't commit you to becoming a member. It just lets you find out more about our congregation. So I encourage all newcomers. Again, you can check out the e-news for more information about these and many other ways to become involved and deeply connected in our spiritual community. You're also invited to join us for social hour immediately following the service right here in the sanctuary. There will be coffee and refreshments off to the side. For those of you who are visiting or are new to our community, there are red coffee mugs for you to use if you would like to identify yourself as a newcomer and chat. The red mugs hold more coffee, highly recommend them. And also, just so you know, when you're holding a red mug, that doesn't mean that you have to seek people out. It means people will seek you out to chat. I respectfully acknowledge that I speak to you today from the land of the Coast Salish people, including the Puyallup Tribal Nation, land from which they were forcibly displaced. I affirm the continued sovereignty of the 574 federally recognized tribes, including the 29 here in Washington state, and support those still fighting for federal recognition. I acknowledge the theft, violence, trauma, and racism that Indigenous people have experienced at the hands of colonizers from 1492 through the present day. I honor the resiliency of the Indigenous people and stand with them as they continue to fight for land, water, visibility, sovereignty, and their very existence. Lastly, friends, I invite you to set your electronic devices to worship mode. We are gathered here, one community together. Let us settle ourselves into this holy moment and open our hearts to learn and unlearn, to share and receive. Now, let us join together in worship. Thank you, Marianne, for that lovely prelude. I also have the pleasure today to introduce our guest speaker, Reverend Jennifer DeBusk. I forgot to even ask you how to pronounce your last name. Alviar. Jennifer DeBusk Alviar, who uses she, her pronouns, is an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister whose unique call is to expand the welcome table of hospitality, inclusion, and liberation. To this end, she cultivates positive relationships with community organizations and diverse faith traditions actively engaged in the healing work of bridge building and social change. In particular, she advocates for accessibility and inclusion for brain injury survivors, along with those who identify as neurodivergent. Reverend Jennifer received her Master's of Divinity degree at Star King School for Ministry in Berkeley, California. She currently lives with her family on the indigenous land of the Duwamish people known as Seattle, Washington.
And I think we want to spotlight the chalice because we're going to do a chalice lighting right now. And I'm going to ask Marianne Lyman. She just is hard at work there playing our prelude. In a minute, she's going to accompany our hymn. She Yeah, so a little bit of time to see Marianne away from the piano. I just wanted her to do this so we can recognize the the great things she brings us almost every Sunday. Thank you, Marianne. This place, I don't even know it without Marianne. It's wonderful how much she has offered here. All right. For our chalice lighting words today, what you see on screen is a little different, but let's try to do it as a unison reading nonetheless, okay? And I know the font is a little small, so hang in there. Try this if we can. This is from Maureen Killeran. In these hard times, let us look first to the response of love. In the midst of challenge, may our chalice flame bear witness to the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. In the midst of uncertainty, may our chalice be a beacon of encouragement, that our values may guide our choices. Let us look first to the response of love. Well, that was great. That was wonderful. Thank you all. For our opening hymn, we're going to sing number 38 in the gray hymnal. The words will be on screen. Morning has broken, and Susan Kunkel is going to be our song leader today.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first word. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, spring in completeness where God's first pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise for elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Okay. Good morning and welcome. Reverend Jennifer Alviar, thank you for the introduction. And one of my favorite parts of the service is story time. So I invite anyone who would like to join me for our story for all ages. What's that? There, that's better. Okay, great. This one here? I know, so many different things to look at. Well, this is the story for today's Wanda's Roses, illustrated by Marianne Coca-Lefeur, and written by Pat Bryson and illustrated by Coca-Lefeur. All right. So one morning, In May and later that summer, the whole lot was filled with the biggest, most beautiful, sweetest smelling roses that anyone had ever seen, just as Wanda had said it would always be. Good teamwork, right? Yes. Thank you.
Do you sing?
Yeah, let's form an arch and sing the children down.
And now we welcome those online and those in the sanctuary with us today to consider the value and importance of the work of this congregation in our sacred efforts to connect with our community, to do the work of reaching out to others, caring for each other, and all that this congregation stands for. We invite you to give from your heart, to give generously, and support all that is being done here in the Tahoma Unitarian Universalist congregation. You can go to our website, which is tahomauu.com, and make a contribution in the top left. There will also be opportunity soon for our pledge drive, and we welcome you to participate in this way in supporting the wonderful work of this congregation.
Join me in the words on screen there. We dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls. And now, if you will all join in hymn number 352, Susan Kunkel will again be our song leader. This is in the gray hymnal, and the words will be on screen.
Bind the stillness, hold the stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I shall enter harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
A short reading, words of Beth Oduet. Nature shares her beauty with unconditional generosity. And we begin to understand we are all connected, all necessary, all loved.
Images hold power. They shape and inform how we perceive the world. They also influence how we treat people around equity, accessibility, and inclusion. Let me illustrate by sharing a story grounded in nature. One morning in mid-October, I enjoyed a leisurely stroll through the Arboretum. Gorgeous, crisp autumn weather, beautiful yellow and gold leaves. Along my path, I noticed a boy about 6 years old. He was gazing up at the sun, wearing solstice glasses, like these. I was struck by the expression of awe on his face. It was filled, his enthusiasm was infectious. And as I drew near, he extended his glasses to me and asked, "Want to see?" "Absolutely," I replied. So I put them on. They work so much better outside. Together, he and I viewed the annular solar eclipse through the same pair of glasses, the same collective lenses, the same vantage point in following the Earth's orbit around the sun. The vastness of the world suddenly felt intimately tender and personal through the spirit of shared unity. This is what equity should look and feel like around accessibility and inclusion for all. Equity is like a pair of shared solstice glasses, a communal gathering space where we exchange our individual lenses with each other to perceive the world through new filters, a spirit of curiosity and novelty, an alternative perspective leading to greater insights, understanding, and compassion. A grace-filled space where differences are held with integrity and wholeness. The kind of equity that calls forth a childlike enthusiasm for collective beauty, wonder, and awe. In my ministry, I advocate for equity, accessibility, and inclusion for people who are perceived as different through society's lenses. Why? Because I know what it feels like to be different in both visible and invisible ways. My lens through which I view the world can be summed up in in four distinct images. Like the boy in the arboretum with solstice glasses, I too experienced a moment of wonder and awe grounded in nature's beauty. In this photo, I am a 6-year-old child. It is June 1977. I joined my family on a summer backpacking trip in Northern California. The vastness of the world came into laser-sharp focus when a tiny red ladybug landed in the palm of my outstretched hand. Is it possible to feel both expansively huge and intimately small all at the same time? Yes, I believe so. I believe this is what awe feels like. Just a few short days later, I viewed the world through drastically different lenses. I was now a critically sick patient lying in the intensive care unit at Stanford University's Children's Hospital. My neurosurgeon, Dr. Jerry Silverberg, diagnosed my brain injury. It turns out that I was born with a cluster of abnormal blood vessels known as an arteriovenous malformation, AVM for short. On that day, the blood vessels burst, leading to a life-threatening brain hemorrhage. What a sharp contrast between these two vantage points. Prior to my illness, I viewed the world through the lens of a healthy, white, blonde-haired, able-bodied girl. All the rules of mainstream society played in my favor. I belonged. After my illness, I was too busy tending to my survival to think much about the social implications of how my health might impact and how people might perceive me. That is, until I returned to school in 2nd grade. I will never forget that day. The California weather happened to be quite breezy. I stepped out onto the school playground, eager to greet my friends, and I couldn't laugh and play with them like I used to prior to my illness. As they ran towards me with cheers of welcome, a sudden gust of wind blew off my white cotton hat. In that moment, the world turned eerily silent and still. Without my hat, I stood before them, revealing my shaved head from brain surgery and a large, unsightly scar. I noticed expressions of fear on my friends' faces. My altered appearance changed the lens through which they perceived me. For the first time in my life, I fell out of favor. I no longer belonged. I discovered the pain of what it felt like to be outed, to be othered, to be different. It didn't feel good. In a few short months, my blonde hair grew back. I resumed the appearance of a healthy, wholesome, mainstream child. And just like that, I was welcomed back into society as if nothing had changed. But I couldn't unsee the fear that I saw on the children's faces that day. I couldn't unfeel the pain that I felt in my body. It birthed a social conscience in me. At a young age, I felt called to expand the welcome table of hospitality, inclusion, and liberation for those who are marginalized and oppressed. It shaped my current ministry around advocacy for accessibility and inclusion for brain injury survivors, along with those who identify as neurodivergent. Fast forward to November 2023. My husband, daughter, and I visited my parents in Palo Alto, California for Thanksgiving. During our visit, I had the good fortune of reuniting with my Stanford neurosurgeon, Dr. Jerry Silverberg, to thank him for saving my life 46 years ago. That reunion highlighted the epitome of deep gratitude and celebration for life, for health, for love, and for community celebration. It also clarified and defined the scope of my ministry. It included 3 overlapping fields: healthcare, interfaith community building, and environment. What do these 3 fields share in common? In one word, belonging. Let me outline these 3 specific fields and how they intersect with each other. As for healthcare, Dr. Vivek Murthy, US Surgeon General, called loneliness, isolation, and alienation a public health crisis. He also expressed something quintessentially beautiful in the core of every human being. He said, healing is about making whole. To be a healer, you have to be able to listen, to learn, and to love. Healing leads to relationships, community, and belonging. In my ministry, I want to address this pain point of isolation so that we can build a bridge to belonging together through social connections for everyone's health and well-being, especially for those who are perceived as different through society's lenses. As for interfaith community building, I can't think of a better role model than Fred Rogers. Many of you may be familiar with his children's public television show called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It first aired in 1968 and ran for 33 years, with its final episode concluding in 2001. Yes, hence I like that. Fred Rogers was an ordained minister like me. Public television served as his chosen platform to live out his ministry outside of traditional church walls. He addressed issues of race, divorce, death, and embraced people of all abilities, neurotypical and neurodivergent alike. He met the access needs of children through a deep sense of community connection and belonging. Television host Charlie Rose highlighted 2 interviews, clips from 1994 and 1997 titled Remembering Mr. Rogers. In one of these clips, Charlie asked Fred this question: who has made a difference in your life? Here was Fred's response: lots of people, but a lot of people who have allowed me to have some silence. I don't think we give that gift very much anymore. I'm very concerned that our society is much more interested in information than wonder, in noise rather than silence. How do we encourage reflection? The wheels in my mind started to turn. Fred's thoughts lit a creative spark in me. Where might I locate my ministry outside of traditional church walls in order to embrace these values of silence, wonder, and reflection? My eyes grew large with excitement as I happened upon an idea. This brings me to my third field, environment. Robin Wall Kimmerer is a Potawatomi botanist and author. She is also the director of the Center for Native Peoples and Environment at the State University of New York College of Environmental Science and Forestry. One of my favorite lines in her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, is this: paying attention is a form of reciprocity with the living world, receiving the gifts with open eyes and an open heart. I want to ground my ministry through reciprocal connection with nature in relationship to our bodies. Since our body's overall health and wellness is directly related to social ties, then what better place than a public garden to serve as a communal gathering space beyond traditional church walls? First, it draws people together united by a shared appreciation for nature's beauty. Building healthy, positive relationships breaks down isolation. Furthermore, science has shown that connecting our bodies in tranquil green spaces benefits everyone, neurotypical and neurodivergent alike. It reduces stress and increases calm. So far, so good, right? But what about equity? This question led me on a nature-based journey seeking to connect beauty with justice in the name of equity. During a recent garden tour at the Kubota Garden, I discovered what I was looking for. The Kubota Garden is a stunning 20-acre landscape that blends Japanese garden concepts with native Northwest plants. It is located in the Rainier Beach neighborhood in Seattle's South End, one of the most diverse zip codes in the state of Washington. The garden's founder, Fujitaro Kubota, lived for 94 years from 1879 to 1973. He was a landscape designer who carried seeds of change both literally and figuratively. Not only did he bring seeds from his native Japan to plant in his Japanese-inspired Kubota garden in Seattle, but he carried these same seeds to the internment camp in Minidoka, Idaho during World War II. Fujitaro's nature-based Shinto religion sustained his spirit in the face of racial injustice. By grounding himself in the natural world, he found the inner resources to design a beautiful rock garden within the walls of his imprisonment. The war may have contained his body, but not his spirit. Fujitara designed his garden in 1927. It became a public park in 1987. Today, it is free and open to the public, maintained by Seattle Parks and Recreation, along with the Kubota Garden Foundation. This, I believe, is what makes the Kubota Garden such an ideal environment for a nature-based approach towards equity. For example, I may invite folks from the Brain Injury Alliance of Washington for a visit to the Kubota Garden. Here is how this one connection ignites a chain of positive events leading to increased equity. The Kubota Garden Foundation offers a wide range of community events to meet diverse interests and needs. Some of these garden activities include a monthly public garden tour, a nature-based guided meditation called forest bathing, a Japanese Buto dance performance, taiko drumming, jazz in the garden, an iris exhibition, a pollinator safari, a soapstone carving workshop for youth. Not only are these offerings appealing to people of diverse ages and abilities, but they also meet important access needs. These access needs connect people's diverse learning styles in environments where they can thrive. In my case, I experienced executive functioning difficulties due to my brain injury. To help alleviate these cognitive difficulties, I find it restorative to ground my body through sensory touch and kinesthetic movement. Meditative activities like forest bathing helps to quiet my mind and regulate stress in my body. Other neurodivergent people may be drawn to alternative garden activities custom tailored to their unique brain and body makeup. It all comes down to the power of agency and choice, grounded in access and equity. A model of asset-based strengths versus a deficit-based mindset of less than. Imagine yourself engaging in this garden with diverse people, living diverse lives with visible and invisible challenges. It's not so clear anymore who is neurotypical and who is neurodivergent, right? Thumbs up. This is the creative tension that each of us is called to hold around accessibility and inclusion, especially differences that are hidden in plain sight. According to the CDC, 61 million Americans identify as having a disability of some kind, and about 10% of those are invisible disabilities. Some of these invisible disabilities include dyslexia, autism, epilepsy, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, multiple sclerosis, lupus, fibromyalgia, mental illnesses, arthritis, deafness or difficulty hearing, traumatic brain injury, and acquired brain injury. By breaking down societal barriers, we learn to break through, break open, and break free into a more expansive, liberated, and vibrant way of being in the world. Who better than nature herself to be the ultimate preacher, teacher, prophet, and artist, and gently guiding us back towards ourselves through healing and wholeness in the soul-nourishing garden. I feel grateful for the many gifts that the Kubota Garden offers to the public. It serves as a peaceful gathering space to foster community connections and belonging. The beautiful, tranquil green space nurtures overall health and wellness. It also cultivates the soulful qualities of wonder, silence, and reflection. And finally, reciprocity in nature is at the root of healing and wholeness. In closing, I'd like to share a quote by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I took Spanish, not French, so from his book, The Little Prince. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. May our hearts be inspired by beauty, wonder, and awe. And may people of all abilities feel welcomed at the Kubota Garden with dignity, respect, and belonging. May it be so. Amen. Shalom, salam, namaste, and ashe.
I think we have an image that Reverend Jennifer brought to us. We'll put that on screen and then just ask us all to set an intention for anything you've experienced here today, the words that have been offered, the music that's been offered. Take a moment and reflect on what we've experienced this hour and what you want to take into the week. Okay, now let us have our closing hymn. We are going to rise in spirit and perhaps in body. And Sheila, in a change in song leader, is going to lead us in, I think it's number 16, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple."
Susan had to go. Undone will be our delight, till by turning, turning we come down right.
Before I share the closing words, I wanted to mention that the image that we were looking at for meditation is the Japanese Kubota Garden. There were peace cranes. And so last summer and fall, the Kubota Garden Foundation participated in a Garden of Peace, a North American Japanese Garden Association, inspired by a woman who survived the atom bombing of Hiroshima as a young girl. So the Kubota Garden volunteers folded dozens of peace cranes, and that was the image that you're looking at for your reflection. So thank you for the hymn, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." And for closing words, we hold you in our hearts as you go into this week, blessed and blessing the world. Go in peace, go in joy, go in love.
Right, before Jennifer extinguishes the chalice, we'll recite the words that I think will appear on screen. And here they are. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. these we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now let us join in our closing blessing song.